Good morning on this 6th of December 2022. It is exactly 9 a.m. I'm saying the date because then another way to introduce it is that it is just 2 weeks to Christmas for those who believe in it. So hopefully now everything about you is in line to close the year and take stock of what has been I would like to say a surprising 2022, if indeed you are a Kenyan. My name is Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage. I'm not alone this morning. The lady in red is right here.
Good morning from wherever you're watching as from This is Morning Drift. Simba, and I believe it is just about the right time to say happy holidays.
Oh my God, we started those things as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm a sadist. I need to see a therapist.
Well, December is here, the most festive month of the year. There's many weddings, as their birthday parties, as their feel-good parties. And of course, here at Lookuptv, we will continue to keep you informed, just for you to know what is around you, happening, of course, across all social media platforms, as well as on the dailies, and what's happening in our newsroom as well.
So much that is going on, by the way, even as we start today. Remember, Nelima, this is what Amoy Brian told me to ask you. By the way, Amoy Brian has got one of the weirdest, you would say, weeks, because his Friday was yesterday, so Amoy is doing his Saturday today. So this is what he asked me to ask you. Have you registered for the Hustler Fund, and what is your limit?
I have not.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Majority of Kenyans are just registering not to get it, just to see what their limit is.
I think busy servicing my other loans, so maybe I'll get to it.
Oh, you get to it. Anyway, a lot of surprised Kenyans who are saying, "Bwana, hii 500 ni kama credit. Mulisema ni ya biashara." And then some guys, we did do the spot check on the streets of Nairobi just to ask people what they think about the 500 shillings. They were like, even today, Nelima, if you decided to start an egg business, a crate of eggs is not 500 shillings, by the way. It's more than 500 shillings. Samosa selling business, it would require more than 500 shillings. So I had some guys say, so wangetuwekea tu airtime, tupige simu tafute hii pesa, lakini kutuambia 500 ni ya pesa, it's not possible.
Right, Simba, I know the Hustler Fund is a conversation that is ongoing. Remember, Kenyans borrowed in the first 24 hours, already over 400 million had been borrowed. So Kenyans are open to a platform that, they'll be lent money, and as well with the interest being lower than other services, other mobile banking services as well. But again, on whether 500 is too low or 50,000 as well is too low, then it varies from person to person, because they say then the real hustler will need anything between 500 shillings to 50,000 shillings. But of course, that is a going on conversation. And be sure to let us know what your thoughts are. Have you already registered on the Hustler Fund? Have you received any money? The hashtag is The Morning Drift. Of course, at Lookuptv on Twitter, Lookuptv on Facebook, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel.
Very much. But a lot of announcements that are also coming in around the country right now. But we shall be getting into that. Top on that is the announcements that Raila Amolo Odinga is making on his plans for the Jamhuri Day celebrations, which is next week, by the way, 6 days from now. So he's saying he's gonna do his own Jamhuri Day celebrations, and tomorrow again is already spoken about a peaceful gathering at Jacaranda Gardens here, so that he can talk about the recent happenings within the country and also putting the president's government in a check. But we shall be getting into that. For now, let's take a tiny breather. Once we come back, we look into what is going on in the dailies this morning. All right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. In case you're just joining us, my name is Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage, and this is most certainly Lookuptv. I am with Nelima Nancy. Nelima, I know you do have the Daily Nation. What is the headline there?
Dailies, our local dailies, and on the cover of the Daily Nation, why besieged IEBC duo quit. Of course, this is in line with the IEBC commissioners, the embattled 4 IEBC commissioners who were before the JLAC committee just to ascertain whether they should be ousted from office. That is, of course, the Vice Chair, Juliana Cherera, Commissioner Francis Wanderi, Commissioner Irene Masit, and Justice Nyang'aya. So last week, Justice Nyang'aya resigned, and yesterday, Monday, the Vice Chair, Juliana Cherera, resigned as well. Now, questions around why they have resigned, and whether that will be a lucky move for them, and as far as this case is concerned, because they're hoping perhaps to avoid public scrutiny into their personal lives, which could then now lead to criminal charges being implicated on them. And so perhaps this could be the move, the reason why Justice Nyang'aya and, of course, the Vice Chair Juliana Cherera resigned, even after the Azimio leader Raila Odinga promised to back them up fully. And we saw President William Ruto yesterday say no matter how much the opposition tries to support the IEBC embattled commissioners, then due process is still going to be followed. Then remember, he's formed a committee of about 9 people who are going to do their investigations and ascertain whether the 4 IEBC commissioners should be ousted from office. Now that 2 have resigned, we'll just be following up that story even today in our newsrooms, just to bring viewers up to speed with what's happening. As well, on the same then is on the front cover of the Daily Nation as well. Of course, that story comes to you on page 4, but public schools are the best in CBC practicals. Of course, there is an ongoing conversation about CBC now that the grade 6 pupils are going to be domiciled in their very primary schools and not going to high schools like was previously intended in the Uhuru government. And so there's the whole conversation about the competency-based curriculum and how just it has changed the practicality of education. And now it's not so much theory, but a lot of practicals have been implemented as well. And Simba, remember, the KCSE examination is still ongoing. It started last week. It is ongoing in different places. And we have seen concerns about some schools which had not registered their students. Some have registered their students, but because they've not paid the exam fee, then they were restricted from doing the examinations. And of course, that story comes to you on the back page of the Daily Nation. And as well, Simba, as I flip the Daily Nation on page 4, then is Raila Odinga and Ruto, President William Ruto, in war of words over the Azimio protests. These are the protests that Raila Odinga is now saying they're not any violent kind of protest, but it's a mass action. It's negotiations, and just to understand, to hold meetings with the public, just to talk about national issues. That is exactly how he's put it. And he says then that President William Ruto, who has come hard on it, just trying to say they're trying to overturn the will of the people, as Azimio leader Raila Odinga has insisted that they did not lose the 2022 August 9th election. So the whole conversation about the protest, the president being against it, comes to you on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And on page 5, a story that is also making a lot of headlines is President William Ruto and his goodwill to the judiciary. Remember, one of the moves that President William Ruto made was to swear in the 6 judges that had been in the cold during President the former president Uhuru's tenure. And of course, that was his first move, and of course, just endearing himself to the judiciary. And to some people, to critics, it could be spilled trouble, because then why would a president be so close to the judiciary? But President William Ruto then made it very clear, and he did say that he wants justice to be served, and so he will expedite the completion of courts because they have the bottom-up benefits.
Yes.
Simba, that's what's happening on this end.
So much also that is happening on the Standard. It's pretty much almost the same coverage that has been given on the Daily Nation. But then just a slight deviation from what the Daily Nation is talking about, this particular tiff, which looks like a tiff, by the way, between Ruto and Raila. On this one, they're saying that Raila seeks to ride on Ruto's failed pledges, but we'll give you the kicker. They're saying that Azimio leader is to lead a national conversation on a governance and performance of the president and his cabinet during several rallies he has called, a move that has thrust him again into the limelight. But the government officials say he wants to cause chaos and roll back economic gains. If you want to read into that story, then you have to go all the way to page 6. And then after that, we don't know exactly what Raila has already spoken and what the president has said about it. In fact, the president has already dared opposition leader Raila Odinga to take him to court then, instead of then leading mass action across the country. Then Raila Odinga did come in and say, well, it's not about mass action. We're just going to convene and talk about the state of affairs in the country. Again, Ruto then did come back and say, well, fine, we're going to give you proper security then as you go on with your conventions. Anyway, read into that story on page 6. Another story that is also taking center stage in the country. It's this story about how a father murdered the entire of his family in Nelima. This is what the relatives are saying. They were a model family that everyone admired. Do you find that a bit ironic, Nelima, in the sense that everybody was spoken about this particular family? They would say they were very happy, they were a model family, everybody did admire them. Then the father now did come in and kill the mom and the 2 daughters in cold blood before he killed himself as well.
Right, that is a very sad story. We also covered it right here. And of course, our condolences to the family.
Yeah.
I know it was a family that, a Kenyan family in the States. And I know then that during this festive season, sometimes then Simba, people might not be well aware of what's happening, you know, outside there. Picture perfect family, but sometimes then it means these are troubled times. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, then it exposed a lot of issues amongst people, anxiety issues, depression. And so perhaps this is just one of the cases, but I believe investigations are ongoing. And just to the family, our deepest condolences.
I'll tell you that, Nelima, it's quite a very, very sad story. Because here, but if you look at all the pictures that have been shared of the family, and that story has been covered on page 3 of the Standard, they all look happy. I mean, nobody, but just to look at the outward picture, it's just a perfect family. I mean, a mom and a dad and 2 daughters were living in the US. All of them, it's a career family. This guy comes back, locks them in a house, and then goes on. It shows much more about mental health, isn't it?
Right.
Which, by the way, in this country is neither here nor there, Nelima. Because today, should you feel stressed, where do you go?
Right, I know that is a conversation that at least more Kenyans are open to it. Mental health is just as important as your physical health. Just because you're not tied up in bed because your stomach is aching does not mean that you're okay. So I believe the conversation is ongoing, which is a little better, because now we can be able to address these very issues that we did not see before.
I'll tell you that. Anyway, another story that you got to read on page 4 is how former IEBC CEO Oswago is gone in, Nelima, for 4 years. Over 1.3 billion tender scam in 2013. Now, when you read into it, something that comes to the fore is how Ruto's government has really been in the limelight in terms of concluding some of the cases that have been around for quite a long time, Nelima, you would say, isn't it?
Right. And of course, even the DPP as well as the judiciary has been on the spot because the DPP then just dropping a whole lot of cases, but as well the judiciary, then there have been some convictions, and even in the Waluke case as well. So then there is a lot happening, and that is a story that we are following closely. We'll be giving you detailed updates in our subsequent bulletins.
Pretty much. All right, now you do know exactly then what is trending in your dailies this morning. Grab yourself a copy so that you are in the know as well. We take a tiny break. Once we come back, what's trending? All right, welcome back to Lookuptv's Morning Drift. Join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Let's then jump into what is trending this morning, and I will tell you what it is once we open a tweet center so we can get to read it together this morning. And the first one, I guess, is going to be a communication from Raila Amolo Odinga, where he says that the Kamukunji event on Wednesday is a public consultative forum. It is not a call to public protest. It is not maandamano. It is a coming together of Kenyans to share views on the state of affairs in the country. Nelima, what do you think?
Right. That is the Azimio leader, Raila Odinga, who has been very categorical, just to say that this is not a demonstration. Remember, in the past, then he has held several demonstrations after previous elections, but has said very categorically this time that this is public consultation, which is a his right to assembly, right to expression as per the Constitution. And so he did say that it's not right for the president and, of course, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade to try and just instigate violence, because that is not what they're after. We did see one of the principals, Martha Karua, as well, then say that she's a person who follows the rule of law, and that the public consultations that they're planning to hold as from tomorrow then are very legal as per the Constitution. And so, in our understanding, then that's just what they mean.
Yes. I'll tell you that. Let me just sample some of the comments that we've seen from Kenyans here. Then you tell me exactly what you think of it. So this is Malcolm X, okay? That is at Jim Nene, who's saying, no, you call for mandamano, you call for protests. You'll be held responsible for whatever transpires. This is not the first time you've used these antiques to divide the country and create animosity between tribes. Tunakujua. What exactly is the agenda when the commissioners have resigned? Should have we stopped it upon the resignation of a majority of the commissioners?
Simba, remember,
yes.
Raila Odinga has said that these are public consultations about national issues. So the ousting of the IEBC commissioners was part of the issues, but even so then, he prides himself as a person who pushes democracy to its limits. And so then this is an opportunity for the public then to say what they are not comfortable with. The high cost of living. Remember, the president did say that he needs a whole year just to bring down the cost of maize flour. So these are some of the concerns that the Azimio Brigade then has, and in line now with the public consultations and participation, then these issues will get a platform to be addressed.
Yes. Isn't it? Someone saying you can hold consultative meetings specifically in a place without gathering people at Kamkunji grounds. That is according to Sheikh Mohammed at Dawaji there, who's saying unafaa kujali maisha wa Kenya. People are working very hard to put food on the table, and you can call them for demonstrations and protests. Kwani watu wanakula demonstrations? Is that this one? Do you think it makes sense that you can hold consultative meetings peacefully in any place without gathering people at Kamukunji ground?
I think that is about right, but as well,
yes.
A public meeting. I think the problem here is that the history. Then there has been a lot of violence, there has been tear gas, running battles with the police, injuries, even death.
Yeah.
But now I think it's a test for Kenyans as well, because as they go and gather at Kamukunji, at Jacaranda Gardens, then what's the purpose? What's the purpose of being there? Do they understand the assignment? Do they understand the purpose of the meeting? Yeah. And I believe the Azimio Brigade has made that clear, so we'll just be following up to see how it goes.
Pretty much. Anyway, let's move on then to the next one this morning in terms of exactly what is trending. Let's read it together. Now, this is State House, Kenya. Now, Ruto to Ayala members of parliament focus on trade, investment, and peace in the region. Now, President William Ruto has asked Kenya's representatives to the East African Legislative Assembly, Ayala, to focus on trade and investment in the region. But then, Nelima, on the back of that, though, the news that we might want to focus on that is that one, Raila Amolo Odinga's daughter.
She didn't say you should call her by her name.
Well, but you cannot run away. You cannot run away from the fact that you are the daughter to Raila Amolo Odinga. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Either way, you'll be completely correct. That is, Winnie Odinga then missed the president's function. Should we read anything in that?
Right. In my opinion,
yeah.
Then it is a bit uncalled for. But again, perhaps she had a good reason. But I believe now many people are not reading too well into it. Mm-hmm. But that is a story that we're also following up. Mm-hmm. We'll be sure to let you know. Yeah. But as well, Simba, what you did mention about President William Ruto then focusing on trade and investment. Mm-hmm. We have seen the president being a very busy man. His itinerary. Last week on Thursday, he had up to 4 or 5 events in a single day. And we know that he's really tried to champion for trade across the world. Yeah. So this is also an agenda that he wants the Kenya representatives, the members of parliament at Ayala to push for.
Yeah, it's a good thing you should say that, because what we do know, there's a Commonwealth Trade Investment Summit that's going on at London right now.
Right.
He missed that. He prioritized this particular one. He sent Musalia Mudavadi. Do you think that held weight than meeting the Ayala members of parliament?
Right, I believe this is the very first time now they're going to go to Parliament, which is in Arusha. Mm-hmm. So then before their very first assignment, then they meet with the head of state, who is President William Ruto. So it is in order. And the president just prioritizing trade and investment, perhaps then it will improve the economy, lower the cost of living.
Yes, but this is according to Patrick, that is at Patrick Omaloa, was saying that Winnie Odinga was told by Raila Odinga to give the meeting a wide berth, all right? She's going to Ayala to represent Kenyans and not Raila Odinga. We should differentiate between matters of the state and sectoral interests that we have. Make sense?
Right, Simba. But again, we could be reading too much into it.
Isn't it?
So yeah, perhaps she had a cold. Mm-hmm. Perhaps she had a stomachache.
Yeah.
So sometimes I believe we are the news writers and the broadcasters, but again, we will do our due diligence and we will give our viewers what is factual.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Just to clear on this, maybe on a softer note, this is according to this is a very nice handle, provocative. Thank you very much. Maybe this is very provocative. Then he says, that's no news. Even Charlene Ruto will miss Raila's upcoming demonstrations. I also doubt Winnie Odinga will attend his father's demos. So why is this news? Provocative indeed.
Right, and I believe the politics is all just now playing out. Yeah. Remember, the president is almost 3 months into office, and that is a story that will be coming up at around 13th this month. We are following up closely. Remember the promises which were immense on the campaign trail and on the day of his swearing in. So this first 100 days, Simba, very significant because they tell a lot about how that whole presidency is going to be anyway.
I'll tell you that. All right, we take a short break.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
So mimi nilikuwa mmoja wa timu kubwa ya Hasla na gojea mazao yake.
Na bila shaka mpenzi mtazamaji, ni awamu nyingine tena ya bunge la mwenyeji ambapo tunasikia tu maoni ya wenyeji hasa wananchi wa kawaida. Je, maoni ni yapi?
Anakwambia wananchi ndio kila kitu. Unaona dipsi na system ni wananchi. Unaona vile wamenyorosha watu bwana.
Tumeng'oa nanga kwenye bunge la mwenyeji.
So ile kitu nasema tunamuomba asituachilie.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Ni wakati wa mkutano. Jioni kwenye kamati ya kijiji.
Hadithi hii ilianza mwaka 1991.
Vipi kuhusu ngano kwa shamba langu kauka? Haina haja. Tutakupa kwa njia pia tukapuje.
Mkoa unaojiendesha wa Nenshahui ulitekeleza sera ya makazi mapya ya kuhamisha watu wa maeneo yenye umaskini ya Shiaigu ili waweze kujikimu.
Ninatumaini sana kwamba siku moja jangwa hapa litakuwa kijani kibichi na mji wetu wa Mining utakuwa na miundombinu kamili.
Welcome back to the Morning Drift. This is Lookuptv. My name is Simba Kiage. In case you're just joining us, we're online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's then look at what is trending this morning in terms of the biggest news headlines that you are pushing on your day with. Now, the Independent Electoral and the Boundaries Commission, IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera has officially stepped down from the polls agency. Cherera has opted not to face a tribunal appointed by President William Ruto to probe her conduct alongside 3 other commissioners over opposing the presidential results with regards to the August 9th polls.
Through a resignation letter addressed to President William Ruto earlier today, Juliana Cherera has expressed her gratitude for being allowed to serve as a commissioner and vice chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC, a role she notes allowed her serve Kenyans diligently and help the commission deal with corporate governance issues. In the letter, Cherera indicates that her decision alongside the other 3 commissioners to reject the presidential results announced by the poll's chairperson Wafula Chebukati was done out of goodwill and, I quote, However, my cumulative actions done in good faith are unfortunately misjudged and misinterpreted. After careful consideration in consultation with my family and lawyers, I accept that my stay at the commission is no longer tenable and therefore choose to vacate. End of quote. Her decision comes days after President Ruto suspended her alongside Justice Nyang'aya, Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, pending investigations by a tribunal chaired by Judge Agri Muchelule. The four have been accused for gross misconduct over their decision to reject the presidential results that were used to declare Ruto the country's 5th president. Cherera has joined Commissioners Justice Nyang'aya, who resigned on Friday last week, hours after being suspended by President William Ruto. It is not yet clear the fate of Commissioner Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, who have not yet tendered their resignation letters, with many expecting them to follow the suit. Samyadika, Lookuptv.
We shall be keeping a tabs on that story, and you'll be sure right here on Lookuptv. We shall be bringing it to you. Now, young girls from two warring communities of Samburu and Turkana have engaged to transform the Morans from cattle rustling to creating a peaceful environment. Speaking during the event, PeaceNet Kenya CEO Kiage Simba has stated that the initiative that involves the girls to create peace is much important, as they are instrumental and are the ones who lure young youth to go in invading on the raids. Moses Okech reports.
It is a peace event at Baragoi that led to an engagement of young girls from Samburu and Turkana communities that are witnessing insecurities and cattle rustling cases. PeaceNet Kenya has used an initiative of integrating young girls of two warring communities to create peace, as they are instrumental in the initiative since they lure young youths to go to invasion and raids.
The reason for that is because we recognize that those two categories are critical to peace, because the Morans are the ones who are on the front line. They are the ones who go out to raid and all that. So if we can engage them, then we'll be able to transform them.
Speaking during the event, PeaceNet Kenya CEO Kiage Simba has encouraged the girls to sing songs that portray peace messages to the Morans and also are to enroll in schools.
We brought a group of girls with a very simple aim of one, including them in the processes of peace building, and importantly, persuading them that rather than singing these songs of praise, it's time for them to sing songs of peace.
In addition, Maralal Catholic Bishop Hieronymus Joya has applauded the program, stating that this will enhance development in the areas.
Wasichana wanatumika kuimbia na kuwachezea warani, na hiyo inawarudishia nyuma. Hawa ni wasichana, ni wamama ambao wataweza kuolewa katika jamii zote.
Some of the girls in attendance showed their gratitude, thus advocating for change and peace.
Ya kufanya hapa ni mambo ya amani. Tumeletwa na kanisa yetu, tumeamua basi mambo na amani. Tuache vita, kwa sababu vita yesaidia. Wasichana wetu wote wataenda shule.
Tunaomba na serikali yetu atupe amani. Sasa tuombe atuweke ajali nzuri.
Cases of cattle rustling and insecurities have increased rampantly this year. The communities maintain their high hopes that this will soon come to an end. Moses Okech, Lookuptv.
Let's move on. President William Ruto has denied claims that his government has captured the judiciary. Ruto has said this when he presided over the launch of the National Council on the Administration of Justice NCAJ report in Nairobi. Ruto has also pledged support to the judiciary so as to boost its service delivery. Edwin John Mukora with that story.
In the wake of allegations of the Kenya Kwanza government capturing the judiciary and having a hand on its decision, mainly from the Azimio la Umoja outfit, President William Ruto has said that on the contrary, he has no time and neither has he ever attempted to interfere with the judiciary in the execution of its mandate.
I know there is maybe a discussion as to why I am appearing in too many of the functions of the judiciary. I think they can confirm to you that I have never put a telephone call to anybody to ask them to do nothing. My support for the judiciary is so that they can effectively deliver justice to the people of Kenya. Period.
Ruto has reiterated the government's commitment in supporting the judiciary by reviewing the pending pension for judges, expediting the completion of 4 small claims courts in Nairobi, and an increase of the judiciary's budget.
Again, to support the efficiency of our judicial system, the tribunals bill will again be presented to Cabinet tomorrow, again, so that we can be able to support the judiciary, provide the infrastructure for ensuring that we decongest our court system by making sure that the support system in the tribunals are working. Again, it will assist us in making sure that justice is delivered efficiently.
On the planned demonstration by Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga over the ouster of the Cherera 4 and over the pending court case on the appointment of principal secretaries by Law Society of Kenya President Eric Deuri, President Ruto has said he has no problem if he loses the case.
I am particularly pleased to see my friend Eric Deuri here, who took me to court the other day when I made some appointments. And I appreciate that it's the wheels of justice. And I'm very happy that he is not threatening to organize any demonstrations because he did not he did not win the case.
On her part, Chief Justice Martha Koome has said that the judiciary is embracing the use of technology in delivering of its services and plans to scale the use of digital methods.
We have looked at Your Excellency's policy on the bottom up, and this is what we are calling access to justice for the marginalized, the poor, and the underprivileged. The success achieved in the period is attributable to the collaborative and consultative approach adopted by actors within the justice sector, which has contributed to the more efficient and effective delivery of justice.
Edwin John Mukora, Lookuptv.
Kenya, period.
Moving on, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has indicated that the government will involve members of parliament in implementing the Hustlers Fund, urging the legislators to be ambassadors of the fund, as Ian Kitani now reports.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has urged the Kenya Kwanza Coalition allied members of parliament to use their resource period to enlighten their constituents on matters of the Hustler Fund, as it is set to benefit millions of vulnerable Kenyans across the country.
Hustler Fund has been rolled out, and the President wants, when you go for recess, to continue explaining to our people the way it is operating, and most importantly, to urge them to pay. You have heard these characters from the other side of Azimio telling people to borrow the money and not to pay, which is very retrogressive thinking. That should not happen in areas where you have been elected. And we are urging you to be the ambassadors of the Hustlers Fund.
Speaking when he opened the National Assembly Majority Party Parliamentary Conference on Legislative Matters at Windsor Golf Club, the DP urged those who've benefited from the fund to pay on time to increase their limit, as the funds are released based on the creditor's trustworthiness.
Talk to the business people, to the young people, to the hustler nation, that there is value in borrowing that money and keep on paying and increasing their chances to borrow more. Already, we are doing very well. More than 9 million people, as of this morning, have registered for the Hustler Fund. Another 3.7 million people have already borrowed money to the tune of 2.8 billion. And what is very, very encouraging is that already 124 million has already been paid back, which means that the concept has been well received and people are borrowing and paying.
The second in command also urged the members of parliament to prioritize the construction of more classes in their constituencies, as grade 6 candidates who are set to join junior secondary schools will be based at their current primary schools.
The President has asked me to inform you that it is his desire that we, the Kenya Kwanza formation, lead by example on the implementation of the junior secondary school, which you know the Presidential Working Party on Educational Reforms has recommended, and the President has agreed that the junior secondary school will be domiciled in the primary school. And we want to urge you during your recess to go and plan with the teachers and the BOMs on how using the money from the national government fund, the CDF, how to put up the junior secondary school.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
The former Interior Principal Secretary at the State Department, Karanja Kibicho, who served under former President Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure, has handed over the office to the new PS, Raymond Omolo. Speaking during the handover ceremony, Kibicho stated that he managed to sweep out cartels in the public offices during his tenure. Shadrach Kareria now reports.
This is the report for Sagas.
After serving for years under the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure, Interior PS Karanja Kibicho's term in office came to an end.
And these are the 8 reports from the 8 regions. They include county reports inside.
Speaking during the handover ceremony that took place at Arambi House, Kibicho outlined his performance, stating that he managed to clear all cartels in the public service offices.
I want to commit to you that I will not interfere with your staff. But that does not mean ukinipata kavi usinunue chai. Because we are also seasoned civil service, we know now that now you are the one in charge.
During his time in office, especially after the fallout between the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then Deputy President William Ruto, Kibicho found himself in exchange of bitter words with William Ruto on several occasions, accusing him of misguiding the president, blaming him for intimidating his supporters.
And in fact, these are our staff. These are people who work for us. We are the ones who created the government. So you should respect those who gave you jobs, my friends.
In his first speech as the new Interior PS, Raymond Omolo stated that he will work closely with other public servants and with the Ministry of Interior to ensure that all is well.
I might not do things the way you would want me to do them, just like you may also not do things the way I would want them done. But with time, we would appreciate and understand our styles of working and be accommodative. At least I would always want us to get middle ground in instances when there is a conflict in terms of how we want to undertake certain responsibilities.
Raymond is among other 50 PSs who were appointed by President William Ruto. Shadrach Kareria, Lookuptv.
You'll be seeing more of my face around.
Police have launched investigations into an incident in which a cop was attacked and murdered by thugs Saturday night in Nakuru County. The deceased has been identified as Police Constable Harrison Onwonga, who's 30, who according to a police report seen by the media was attached to Ruiru Wrecker Squad.
Kifika hapo steamer line tukapatana na vijana wengine walikuwa zaidi ya 7 nao wakipanda. Sisi tukafikiria pia ni watu wamechelewa vile na sisi tumechelewa, pengine wametoka kuona ball. So walipofika karibu Mmoja akapita pande hii mahali nilikuwa, na kwa sababu tulikuwa, huyu alikuwa this side, mimi nilikuwa this side, Aria alikuwa nyuma kidogo. Huyo sasa alipokuja upande wangu akachomoa silaha, akaniambia toa. So mimi kushtua kumuuliza nini, ndio akanigonga kwa kichwa, nikaanguka chini. So hao walipoona ya kwamba nimegongwa, ikabidi sasa nikunitetea. So ndio hao walipozidi nguvu, kumbe walikuwa vile walikuwa wanatembea, walikuwa wamejiami. So niliona mmoja alikuwa na kisu wakati niliamka na marungu. So nikaona huyu mahali alianguka, kwenda pale kumuuliza, akaniambia ako sawa. Yeye akaniuliza Aria ako wapi? Kuinuka kujaribu kuangalia, tukaona na Aria naye ameanguka mbele, akiwa ana shati ni vest.
Yeah, we are here and very unfortunate that we are confirming the death of one of our officers, which happened in the wee hours of the Saturday morning, brutally murdered. Within Ronda, that is Nakuru West. He was walking home with his two brothers when all of a sudden they were attacked by about eight men. And of course, him being a police officer, well trained, highly skilled, and having passed through many tests, he staged a fight, of course. He never went down easily. He took them. But unfortunately, after stabbing him with a knife, we have an indication that someone else hit him with a crude weapon on the forehead, smashing it, whereby he fell unconscious. He was assisted by the police and the police who were able to rush to the scene immediately, and he was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, never make it.
3 months are down now after Kenya's elections took place in August this year, and elected leaders assuming office. Our reporter Moses Okech asks Kenyans for their feedback. Let's take a look.
After elected leaders on the August 9th polls took space in their different offices, today on Your Opinion Matters, we ask Kenyans whether there is a positive feedback from their leaders. This is Your Opinion Matters.
Okay, 3 months after election, I'll say it's too early to preempt. Juu ndio anajaribu kustabilize government. But so far, I can't complain. At least kuna vitu nimeona zimepungua na pia strategy yake naona ikiwa sawa.
Nao wameingia, tunashukuru kabisa sababu wameleta maendeleo, na tunaona kwa hii mwaka ikiisha tunaweza kukua na maendeleo.
Hatuoni tofauti yoyote, ili hali sisi hapa Nairobi tunalilia gavana wetu upande wa security hatuko safe kabisa, sababu wengi wetu tunafanya biashara, uenda ukachelewa kufika nyumbani.
Sijaona kazi wameanza sai. Though maybe tunahitaji kuwapea time kidogo, lakini hapo so far hakuna kitu nimeona imetusaidia sai.
I'm satisfied with what he has done so far. So I only expect he fulfills more of his promises as we continue into his period during this term he has.
Inaenda mzuri kama mimi kwa mawaidha ya watu kusikia masikio, uongozi ni sawa kabisa.
Sasa kulingana na hali yenye anaenda, kama sisi wananchi hatuna imani, sababu vitu zinaenda kwa hali ambayo hatukutarajia sisi. Hatuna imani kabisa. Huenda kama rais wetu anatusikia ama gavana kama anaweza leta mabadiliko tofauti itakuwa sawa, lakini kwa saizi hatuna imani kabisa.
Serikali hii tuliipea kura. Kama mimi hapa nilikuwa mfuazi wao kabisa. So wanafaa wajikakamue kidogo. Wasituangushe, wajikakamue kidogo. Vile tulidhani sisi ni hustlers, vile tunajiita kama vile wao walijiita pia. Tulidhani pia watashughulikia hustlers. Hiyo jina ni muhimu sana vile walikuja nayo. So vile walikama na hiyo jina watusaidie.
Because wengi wetu wanalia vijana hawana ajira. Ukiangalia saa kama hii mtaa wako, mtu umesoma lakini hakuna mahali popote ambazo unaweza jishikilia useme hii kazi ni ya serikali ama naweza wakilisha hii ama kaunti yetu inawakilisha kitu fulani ambaye inaweza saidia mahali.
Naona ameanza vizuri, so I expect better things to be there.
And those are some of the opinions that Kenyans had to offer this time as they anticipate for a greater new year. Moses Okech, Lookuptv.
That's Moses Okech there with that particular one, with Kenyans evaluating the performance of the government after 3 months. Yeah, and Raila Amolo Odinga is also said that is going to ride on the failures of the current government so far. Remember, the 100 days are fast approaching, by the way. And so we'll be back to the drawing board for the current government to see exactly what they've achieved in the first 100 days, with Kenyans there saying, well, some of them have not been achieved already. What do you think? Be part and parcel of that at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Nelima is right here. Probably now will be a proper time to introduce her to the conversation this morning, so she can tease a conversation that is coming up next, because for me, I'll be going for my tea break. I'll then come join you from 11 to 12. Nelima, what do you have headlined this morning?
Right, this morning, Simba, we have a very interesting conversation. 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So we're looking to see how violence against women and girls can be ended. The 16 days have come to an end, and now we'll just be able to focus on what are the efforts and how far have we come. Have we finally addressed the issue? What is left for us to do as a society? There's a very pertinent issue that I'll be focusing on this morning. It is a conversation that you do not want to miss.
Pretty much. And I'll be coming later then from 11 to 12, but we'll be looking at top hedge assets. I know land is one on those, and I'll be telling you why investing in land always wins the day. All right, let me go for my tea break. Nancy and Nelima will be back with that conversation, so please do not step away.
So mimi nilikuwa mmoja wa timu kubwa ya Hasla na ngojea mazao yake.
Na bila shaka mpenzi mtazamaji, ni awamu nyingine tena ya bunge la mwenyeji ambapo tunasikia